He was giving birth to one of the greatest public affairs program in Georgia history, the Hope Scholarship. And for me to be there as the chairman of the Center Higher Education Committee in that pivotal position, and then to be able to go across Georgia in churches and schools and help sell the Hope Scholarship and what it meant. And then that paved the way for me to later become Rules Chairman with Zell's endorsement. So there I was as Rules Chairman, as you know, buddy. Nothing gets on that calendar if it don't get through the Rules Committee. And I was there to make sure none of those bills, because you know it was tough. Other bills coming to try to remove the Hope Scholarship. And so let me just conclude by sharing with you what his meaning meant to me. And I think to the nation and the world is best captured in God's first psalm. Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, or sit in the seat of the scornful, but his delight is in the law of the Lord. And in the law of the Lord, he does meditate day and night. And he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of waters, bringing forth his fruit in his due season. And none of his leaves will ever wither, and everything, whatsoever he does, shall prosper. Such a man was Zell Miller. God bless Zell Miller. And I thank God for sending Zell Miller our way.
I thank the gentleman for sharing that. And I want to share one other thing before I call on the next speaker. And I mentioned that Zell Miller was the baseball coach at Young Harris College when he was a professor up there and on the faculty there. Well, they discontinued the baseball program for a long time. And then when Zell was governor, they actually restarted the baseball program. And Zell had a big role in that. In fact, I want to tell you real quickly, he invited us all to the governor's mansion, those of us who were supporting the baseball program, trying to get it started up. And to kick it off, he had none other than Hank Aaron and Mickey Mantle at the governor's mansion as a benefit to getting the Young Harris College baseball program started again. Not only has that program started again, but it's been very, very successful, producing players such as Nick Markakis, who plays for the Atlanta Braves now, who played at Young Harris College. Charlie Blackmon, playing for the Colorado Rockies. Just a few of the many players that went to Young Harris who are playing in the major leagues right now. I also want to share with you very quickly his love of baseball, because when he was governor, Phil Niekro, the great knuckleball pitcher of the Atlanta Braves, was inducted into baseball's Hall of Fame. Zell actually hosted a trip to the Hall of Fame during the time that he was to Cooperstown, during the time that he was being inducted. And my wife and I and my two oldest sons were honored and able to go on that trip. And I can remember being at the Hall of Fame with Zell Miller. And I can remember the emotions and how proud he was of a Georgian, of Phil Niekro, of an Atlanta Brave being inducted into baseball's Hall of Fame. Just another one of the great memories that I have of Zell Miller. At this time, I want to recognize another member of our delegation to share with us his remarks, and that's Rick Allen from Georgia's 12th District. And I'll yield to him for what time he may consume.
Well, Congressman Carter, thank you for putting together this special order to honor someone who probably everybody in Georgia has been touched by in some way or another. Of course, I rise today to honor the life and legacy of what we all consider a true legend in the state of Georgia, former Governor Zell Miller. You know, he was known for his quick wit, and he had a deep love for the state of Georgia, and of course, obviously up from the mountain area in North Georgia. He was always willing to do what was right for our state, and this state that we all love to call home. Zell Miller's service to our country began at a young age, and was mentioned he served in the United States Marine Corps, where he later attained the rank of sergeant. Upon returning home from his military service, Zell received degrees, as we said, in history from the University of Georgia, and would eventually use that education to teach college at his hometown in Young Harris, Georgia. I did not know that he was the baseball coach, but I was glad to learn that. You know, after only a few years of teaching, Zell was called to run for public office, as we said, as mayor, state senator, lieutenant governor, and later governor, then U.S. senator. It is hard to imagine who has had a greater impact on the lives of Georgians. Zell was one of those true conservatives. As governor, Zell Miller will be remembered for his great accomplishments, as we mentioned, of the Hope Scholarship Program and funding it with the Georgia Lottery, which has surpassed $10 billion in total financial aid assistance to Georgia students. Let me repeat that. $10 billion in total financial aid assistance to Georgia students. Because of the Hope Scholarship, Georgia higher education is now a national leader in entry requirements and graduation rates. A quick story about the University of Georgia. On visiting that campus, we learned, and this was when we were doing our higher education bill, and we were told that you know, graduation rates were 55 to 60% across the country. Well, in visiting the University of Georgia now, that has been under the Hope Scholarship since Governor Miller served his term, we learned that the entry requirements, Buddy, was 1,300 on the SAT, and you had to be at the top of your class to get into the University of Georgia. Now, this is 80, and the student body is 80% of Georgians. They only accept 20% from out of state. So you can imagine how much more difficult it is to get into the University of Georgia out of state. But the amazing statistic is that the graduation rate is 95%. And those students either get a job upon graduation or go on to higher education. An amazing accomplishment for the University of Georgia, and largely because of the opportunities presented to Georgians through the Hope Scholarship. Because of the Hope Scholarship, like I said, Georgia is now a national leader in education. Zell Miller will always be known as the education governor, and he helped build a foundation that, of course, our state enjoys today. During his tenure, he also played a pivotal role in bringing the Children's Medical Center to the Medical College of Georgia at Augusta University. We have a special attachment, as our family does, as many families across the state of Georgia, to the Medical College of Georgia. Our 12th grandchild was born 8 weeks premature. Her first year of life she spent in that medical center, off and on, to deal with being born premature. Our family